Anubhav Sinha.
Anubhav Sinha.
Anubhav Sinha.
Anubhav Sinha.
Thank you for that compelling tribute to a life devoted to courage, creativity, and conscience. To honor this extraordinary legacy, we now move to a very special moment. May I invite on stage our chief guest, Mr. Anubhav Sinha, and our staff advisor, Mr. Vaibhav Dwivedi, to welcome the chief guest with a bouquet of flowers as a gesture of our love and appreciation. I would now request President Vansh Gupta and Vice President Naina Lal to also felicitate Mr. Vaibhav Dwivedi, who will be the moderator of the much-awaited interactive session. May I now request Mr. Vaibhav Dwivedi, our staff advisor, to kindly remain on stage along with Mr. Anubhav Sinha as we move to the next part of the program. We are about to begin the interactive session, a captivating conversation that delves deep into the beautiful intersections of cinema, society, and self-expression. Today's discussion celebrates the art of storytelling, the journey that transforms thoughts into emotions, scripts into life. Today's theme is From Pages to Stages, bringing script to life. To take this inspiring conversation forward, we now invite our moderator, Mr. Vaibhav Dwivedi, to lead the discussion and guide us through this creative journey. Over to you, sir.
Hi, am I audible? Oh, wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, sir. Welcome again to
Thank you.
Good
Good afternoon.
So I spent my Diwali break preparing for you, and I think I have some notes that I will try to throw at you. When I work with my students, this sort of, there's a different power dynamic because I question them and they have to answer. And I feel that is exactly going to be the case today, that I have to ask you some questions and then you will have to answer.
Yeah, I miss those days.
So said something very wonderful in the staff room right now. He was talking about prism and how the idea of a prism led him to, when he was explaining the prism to someone, that they gave him a really wonderful song, and he said something wonderful, that there is still enough magic in the world. दुनिया में अभी भी बहुत जादू है.
बहुत सारा दुनिया ही जादू है.
दुनिया ही जादू है. So इस जादुई दुनिया को start करने के लिए I would like to begin this talk with a story that Sir said in another podcast, a story about a frog. In another interview, I think, he says that he was working and he used to work till late, and then when you would go back, you would take this route which you would cross a dhaba. And you would stop at that dhaba and you would eat there, and then you would go to the washroom, and in the washroom you had a frog waiting for you. And then you had to throw water at the frog, and then the frog had to go away. And then the next day, and then the day after that, and again and again and again. So you kept meeting either the same frog or a frog that looked similar. While you were talking about this, you said something very wonderful. You said that you had to hurt it, to throw water at it so that it could go away. But at the same time, you had grown very familiar of it. That there was a bond between you and this strange creature. And this was your Groundhog Day. Sir, I would like to begin this talk by asking you this one question that do you think that these little strange moments of these strange companionships, this strange routine that we look back on, that they interrupt us and they somehow make us see ourselves in a very strange light? Like, as a person, I can be so moved or affected by the existence of another very small, tiny creature, that in the larger rhythm of what my career is, what my life is, what my human story will be, a question that everyone has about their own life here, a frog can interrupt us. So do you think that an artist should welcome this capacity to be interrupted in their existence, not just by the grand, but by some very small, ordinary conversations, like the conversation of a prison, or the existence of a frog on which you have to throw some water every day? How do you deal with such interruptions?
You know, in the moment they're not very welcome because, you know, we are so beautifully ensconced in our comfort zones and they throw you out. And that is when your personality expands, when you get out of your comfort zone. So, as someone who's slightly older than you like the word?
Slightly.
Yeah. I would tell you that when you're living that moment, it's not fun. You don't like it. But in hindsight, you will realize that that is what will change you for better. Most of the times for better. So that frog story is briefed in a nutshell, is as brief as that. But when I walked from the dhaba to my apartment, I was thinking of the frog. I didn't want it to be there. Not that it was harmful. I've never heard of a frog killing a man. And he was going to be in the bathroom. If I shut the door, I can shut him out. But that presence was unnerving. That there's something in the bathroom. What if it could slide through under the door? But still, he was not going to kill me. At the most, I will end up touching that slimy creature. That's all the discomfort is. But it bothered me so much that it kept me out of the comfort zone for a couple of hours every day. And then I managed to deal with it. Then I managed to get less and less unnerved about it. And that is something that stayed with me and must have pushed me out of my comfort zone. And that maybe trained me slightly to deal with uncomfortable situations in life. I was 23? 23 or 22 and a half at the time.
A year or two older than what most of them are right now.
Yeah. So I was not very young, I was not old enough. And I was alone in a small town called Faridabad, which was still developing. It was not as buzzing as it must be today. And there were factories and there were some such small houses and you would walk. So there was a lot of loneliness. Maybe that frog was lonely too. But he did something to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did something to him.
Yeah.
Maybe he also tells this story to his people that, I used to just go out and that man was so cruel. He would throw water at me. I don't know why he wanted me to go away.
And now he's telling an entire audience about this.
Yes. Imagine 74 frogs sitting there and one frog talking to them about me.
So I mean, when he's speaking, so I just have to ask this then, do you think that your ideas are like frogs then? That they are something that is stuck in you, that make you move a lot more, that make you act a lot more? And even if they don't kill you, even if you can ignore them and they won't kill you, there is something about their existence that it will keep nagging at you, that you have to get to it, you have to get to it.
Yeah, was talking to someone the other day and I said, this is a beautiful room, wonderful people. But there are some people who will still see some dust somewhere. And they would say, let's clean it. And the rest of them will get very upset that it's such a wonderful room, such a wonderful chat. Why are you looking at the dust? But someone's got to look at the dust. Not everyone can afford to not look at it. And then you become an irritant for some time. And maybe for more than some time. But unfortunately, I am that person who looks at things that need to be bettered, and they are the frogs, and I need to deal with it. And how do I deal with it? And over years, I'm blessed with some sort of, not expertise, but some sort of interaction with the art form called films. And I try to engage with those frogs through the art form that I know a bit.
So the word interruption, there's this poem that, not a poem, there's an excerpt by the writer C.S. Lewis, the creator of Narnia. He says something wonderful that I would just like to read out to you. He says that the truth is, of course, that what one calls the interruptions are precisely one's real life. And what you think is interrupting your life is your life. So what has been your interruption that has become your life?
If you look at my career, or even my whole life, I become an engineer that most boys my age wanted to be. Then I become an engineer. Then I get jobs. Then I do 2 of them. And then one day I just quit. And I say, no, this is not what I want to do. And then I take a year to figure out what I want to do. And then I go to Bombay. I start making films or television or whatever. Starts with television, goes to music videos, gets into films, and then there is, so after every phase is a bit of restlessness, and those are the phases of interruption. So he's very right in saying, even if that is not your entire life, that interruption, it's the driver of the rest of your life. It's the driver for a long period of your life. So these interruptions happen in my career, in my life all the time. I have moved from one to the other, from making, I was looking at the wonderful video you guys cut. It looked like a posthumous tribute until in the end it said, no, it's just the beginning. So I was relieved. I said, oh shit, I have some more years to go. But so when I looked at Das Tathastu Cash, it feels like someone else. It's not me anymore.
You don't recognize that?
I see it as, I think many years later, when I have calmed down a bit in terms of working, maybe I'll look back and then I will be able to articulate those interruptions.
So is it, looking at your own work, is it like seeing your own photograph, when we are very young and we look at ourselves, we point at this little child in the photo and we know that it's us, but it never feels like us. Is that something similar that you feel when you look at your old work? And in many ways it's very easy to label you, but it's impossible to label you because your work just keeps on mutating. At times there is anger in your work, at times there is a lot of love, at times there is a lot of comedy, there's action. So there is almost a certain sense that when you look back, do you always find strangeness there?
No, it's like you very beautifully put it. It's like looking at your old picture, it's you, and you can barely recognize yourself. And so it's exactly like that. It's you, of course it's you, but it's not this you anymore.
How do you look back at yourself with kindness, with some hate, with anger?
No, I think even if it sounds pompous, I did fairly well. In my family, there was no history of art. Nobody was an artist. So I got into films and I took it up as a career until Ra.One. And post Ra.One, when I make Mulk, is when I discover films as an art form. And then it's not my career anymore. Now I don't look at films as my career. It's something that I love doing, and it also earns me some money.
Which is
And some
important.
Yeah. Money is very important.
Yes, sir.
I subscribe to Shah Rukh when he says that you have to have the money
Yes, sir.
to be happy.
Thank you, sir. So, continuing this thread of interruption, I looked at a lot of your videos and podcasts, and I guess a very obvious next question that I want to ask is, so your life in Banaras, you've spoken about that a lot, but I find it very interesting that when you speak about Banaras, that I remember in the London Top interview, I think you say that Banaras ek insaan hai, and it's almost as if you are dripping with so much nostalgia that you would not have been the person you are had you never ventured out. But every time you speak of it, it's as if you're always on the verge of going back, and perhaps you have gone back many times only to come back again. And this is the very human tug, right? To stay out and go. So what was it like, the first major interruption, to leave your city? Apart from the logistics and the movement of it, so what did it do to you as a person, as a child, to leave your Banaras? Because once, and this is something that I feel that, once you leave home, you cannot really go back to what it was. Something happens to you, and something happens to the home. And every time you meet, everything fits, but it just feels as if there is something slightly wrong. Whether it is your home, it is your city, or it is who you were supposed to be. So what happened when you left the city? And sir, I think the larger question that I want to ask is that what does nostalgia do to an artist? Because the more you live, touch wood, the more nostalgic one becomes. And as we keep on living, I think so we live more in memory than we live in real life. We live more in what was, what once, what did we once have, what have we lost. So what did this nostalgia, what did this loss do to you?
It's a very strange kind of loss. You have to realize that I was growing up in a different time when leaving your city and going to a bigger city was success. Was, oh, Prem Govind's son has gone to Delhi. He's working there in Delhi.
Yeah.
It was a deal. It was a big deal. So, and there wasn't enough understanding of leaving. There was more understanding of arriving. So any journey has two milestones, departure and arrival. So the arrival was so much celebration that the departure didn't make a difference. It's only when you get older and when you start, because that's where you grow out of. And you start longing for it and you start missing it. And I think there are two kinds of people who choose nostalgia over future or present. I think the most wonderful thing is the present. Someone very beautifully said that time doesn't exist because past doesn't exist, future doesn't exist, and this moment when I'm talking about it existed. So there is no existing time. So if you keep living moment to moment, which doesn't mean you do not carry the memories with you, or you do not carry the baggage of your past, or you do not carry the baggage of the ambitions that you have, but still living in the moment while I'm here is the most outstanding thing. And one night before you close your eyes, you will think of the past. One night you will be restless and you'll be thinking of the future. But such is life. And I don't think you have to choose one or the other. I don't think one is better than the other. It's who you are and what you want. It's as simple as that. Nostalgia is beautiful, it's wonderful. It's where you come from. And it's very it's wonderful to treasure it.
So, you just took something right out of my page. I'd written something by, so this is something by the philosopher Kierkegaard. He says that, I see it all perfectly, that there are two possible situations. One can either do this or that. My honest opinion and my friendly advice is this: do it or do not do it, you will regret both. It feels as if, sir, when you speak of, it's a wonderful point that, one arrives, but one does not realize that, when the leaving has happened. So do you think that you're still leaving Banaras every day? That it's a loss that did not just happen on the day when you left that city, but every time that you remember it, you have to again forget it, and you have to be where you are. So this leaving is also something that, strangely, it doesn't leave you. And I see this because every time I tried to research about you, I looked you up, and I tried to see you speak a lot. You speak of Banaras a lot. You named your production house after it. Another poet on Twitter said that, why do we write? Because if something is there, if this diary is there, I can point at it. But if something is not there, then I need words, then I need to grow with the darkness. So, you've not really left, you're still leaving.
I think life is a series of flights. A lot of flights that you take and you come back and you land. You take another flight and you come back. You take another flight. But where you land is where you come from. And that's Banaras. So, typically you are from the place where you were born, right? In societal conversations.
That's where I belong to.
Yeah, that's the difference. And that's what I want to talk about. I was born in Allahabad. And I grew up in Garhwal first 9 years. Then I lived in Allahabad again for a year. Then I went to Banaras when I was 11. 11 to 17, I'm in Banaras constantly. Then I go to Aligarh, but I keep going back to Banaras until I'm 24, and then I go to Bombay. So 11 to 24 is my Banaras time. And that's where I was probably formed. Before that, I was mama's boy or daddy's boy. And so there were I did not have command over my choices. I don't have control over my choices.
I remember you saying in that interview that that you did not really know what you wanted. You knew that you had to do engineering because it was expected out of you, but you did not know what you want, which is a wonderful way to look at things because I think it's very easy to, when we're doing some things because our parents wish for it, the obvious assumption is that we are killing our own dreams. But even before that happened, there is simply a point in which we do not know who we are. So,
but that takes a fair while to figure out who we are. I'm still figuring out who I am.
It takes a life to.
I think so. And that's if you're fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you figure out who you are. But, so that's the reason why I say I'm from Banaras, because the phrase you used, I feel I belong there. I feel I'm made up of Banaras. I feel I'm made up of Aligarh. These two cities made me. I came to this planet via lava.
Yeah.
Extremely grateful. But, and I have memories there as well. But
there are some places that just stay.
And I've lived the maximum number of years of my life in Bombay. So ideally I should be saying I belong to Bombay. But I say no, I belong to Banaras, and it was something I said in an interview that became the headline of the interview in Times of India was, Bombay is my body and Banaras is my soul. So, both are equally fantastic.
Then this nostalgia for you in an artist is something, so the word nostalgia comes from a certain sense of ache, a sickness.
No.
I feel so proud right now that it comes from a certain sense of desire to go home, which is painful. So it's like an itch, it's like having a splinter that you cannot get out. It's a wound that does not heal.
I don't feel like I feel wonderful thinking of my past. Really wonderful.
I think so not all pain is bad.
Painful.
Yeah. it's a larger question that I want to ask because we talked about nostalgia. So don't you also feel that, I mean, my personal equation with nostalgia is something that can drive me. It is wonderful because even if it is pain, it reminds me of who I was, what I have lost, and because when I remember what I have lost, for a moment I am whole again. But in the larger culture, you were talking about Instagram reels and stuff right now with some of us. Don't you feel that nostalgia right now is becoming something that is being almost very crudely commercialized? We live in a world of sequels, sir. We live in a world of films that are only referring to other films. 3-4 years ago, I saw Tu Jhooti Main Makka. It's an entire film, it's a good film, don't laugh. It's an entire film that is referring to another films, Hum Aapke Hain Kaun. Thugs of Hindustan, another film which is referring to another film, Pirates of Caribbean. Border 2, and I'm sure that there will be Border 3, 4, 99, The Return of the Border Ki Waapsi, sir. So is there not also a sense of danger when nostalgia or when depersonalized nostalgia becomes commercialized? That we are becoming, a word that you use a lot for one of your films, that we are becoming over-indulgent. That the past is also a honey trap because we know it so well, because we also know that it sells. Right now, there are certain OTT platforms that are producing an entire AI version of Mahabharata. There are entire social media posts, if we leave the world of cinema, that are telling you that this is what a 90s kid lived like, that buy games from 90s kid, buy outfit from 90s kids. That nostalgia is wonderful, that it drives us. But what happens when it becomes the only commercial driving force which does not let us interrogate the past? It says that join your hand, close your eyes and receive the past as it is. What about that level of nostalgia?
This is an extremely political question.
Oops.
Yeah, I used the word and I just brushed past it as if I didn't say it, but I'm sorry, I did. So you're talking socialism and capitalism actually. I'll explain.
Okay.
Capitalism tries to standardize the produce and franchise it. So somebody made a burger and there's this guy somewhere says, oh, this is very nice, selling very well, let's make McDonald's. Now you buy McDonald's in India or in Korea or in Vietnam or in China or in America. It's exactly the same. That's a piece of art. It's horrible, but it's the same. I mean, for me it's horrible. And that's what franchise films are.
Same known taste.
Same known taste, and the strange news is that it works because McDonald's is selling, franchise is selling, so there are consumers for it, and money knows it. The ones that you are talking about is that dive into your past, dive into your ideas, and create something new.
That does not exist.
That does not. That's art. That's art, and that's a very socialist idea. So, your question largely is about capitalism and socialism.
I agree, sir. I mean, there is a certain sense that there is a template of cinema that has now been almost downloaded.
I don't think you should look down upon that. I don't think I should. I hate McDonald's. I hate KFC. I would never buy anything that has a brand attached to it. At least an edible. And this is diesel. Sorry. But I loved it. Sorry about it.
It's a good color. I think green suits people.
Thank you. So, where I was, I forgot.
So McDonald's, and we should not look down.
Yeah, we should not look down upon it because there is a market for it, and this market runs the world, this market runs the universe. But at the same time, there should be artists and socialists who should continue to do the other thing, and that's what the real democracy is about, respecting each other's freedoms.
It's not that I'm looking down on those films.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm saying we should not.
So, but I think so we should look at these films, and we should also acknowledge the danger that is present in this tendency that is not just in the world of cinema. I think it is a symptom that has invaded the world of cinema. you're very right. I mean, in the staff room, sir was talking about a lot of Instagram reels that, I mean, roughly 3-4 hours per day. Some of us have 5 hours per day on a specific thing. It's a culture of overconsumption of something that is not meant to make us question or think or reflect on anything. Whether it is the McDonald's that we order, whether it is the social media that we consume, or the movies that we watch in the larger, broader space. Specifically, I would say it's a post-COVID. There is a larger drive that, nostalgia is also something that has become a refuge to not acknowledge the kind of political, personal horrors that we live in. And I'm not saying that cinema is the only thing, and even theatre is the only thing that is doing this, but there's a larger symptom. And I read something about Instagram that it's an infinite scroll to nowhere. That is exactly what eating outside food has become. That is exactly what consuming a lot of cinema has become. That you are only doing this and this is the point that I want to make, that there is a sense of numbing that happens. That you feel as if there is a sense of, you're not moved by it. You are not invigorated by it, and not all movement needs to be loud. I mean, the quietest of scenes can break your heart, and it does something to you. But that seems, and so I think there is a cost when you lose that. So even if you don't look down at it, you're also losing a potential point of a movie or a text or a story breaking you. So how do we account for that loss?
I mean, these are personal choices. It's not that scrolling is a new phenomenon. A few years back, not too long really, it was called surfing.
Yeah.
Right? You had 744 TV channels and you didn't know what to watch, and you were surfing. You were looking through the TV. Actually, the TV was looking at you. And then, they modernized it. They
Drowning.
Yeah. Go further back into superstores, malls. You've gone to a mall to buy, let's say, a watch. And you end up buying 3 shirts that you never thought of because of the display and the enticement and whatnot. So, the capitalist idea is to make you buy things you don't need.
Everything is a commodity.
Yeah, everything is a commodity. So is the film, so is the burger. And
So is the audience.
imagine there's a great business idea of creating a samosa McDonald in India. What if we standardize samosas across India?
I'm so ashamed to admit that I would buy it. There is a safety there.
No, but safety is not the best thing all the time, no? It's the risk that evolves you. It's the chance that evolves you.
Right.
It might kill you, but that's fine. You are born to die.
So will the standardized McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's more fun? I did this. I learned swimming very late in life. And 30 plus. Though I'm from Banaras. I'm ashamed. And then I learned it in the swimming pools in Bombay, which was invariably 4.5 feet deep, and I'm 6 feet tall. So I never had to really swim to be in the pool. And then I realized that I cannot stay in one place in water because I had never tried it. I didn't know the cycling. Those of you who swim will know what I'm talking about. The simplest thing. And then I was in Europe recently and we went swimming in the ocean. And I told my friend, I don't know how to swim. So he said, what? I said, no, I know how to swim, but I can't stay in a place. He didn't get it. He said, what are you talking about? And then he said, come in. Of course you know how to swim. How to be in a place if you know how to swim. And I went in there and I said, I know, I'll touch you, I'll hold your hand for some time. I know it's gay, but let's not look at it like that. And I went there and I had his hand for some time and then I left it and I was floating. I was fine. I crossed a line at 59. If you don't, and then I go there and now I can be in water for hours and I love it. Had I not gone past that moment of fear, of suicide, of risk, of chance, I wouldn't get there. So risk is not always bad. Actually, risk is mostly good. If you're smart enough, you're intelligent enough, sensitive enough, you'll go faster.
So, I mean, so you would be aware of this trend that happened, the Ghibli trend. Everyone is posting AI art of their photographs of their art. So, before we come to your movies, a final question about this, about your own experience as an artist. I know that you've spoken about how that AI can be useful in the logistical makings of cinema, but as a personal choice of an artist, it should not interfere with what their calling is. So I don't want to talk about the ethical or the financial cost of what is wrong or what is the big bad about using AI. But so I mean, I think there's a human cost when this risk-taking capacity is going away from us. That something happens to us when we enter into this terrain of making something, whatever this be. That you become, you unbecome, you struggle, you have to break, you have moments of joy, then desperation, and hopelessness and frustration. And you create something. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad or if it's okay, it's wonderful. But the idea is that you create something which is you. That it's another reason that if there is an Article 15, then it's another reason that keeps you in this world, because you have a version of you, of your something that exists out there. So I guess the question which connects us to the previous dialogue is that, do you think that this risk is going away when we just consume and don't think about it? We lose this very human act of the struggle of creating.
No, we can't have a sweeping statement for it, but there is a risk of that happening. There's a large number of people who are in a hypnosis, and there's an equally large number. We're still innovating. We're still making groundbreaking films and writing good poetry. The world is doing all of that, but there's a looming risk of going into that hypnosis and stop experimenting and stop creating.
In an interview, I think with Fai D'Souza, you said something wonderful that you were in Paris and you were walking around and you saw this one painting, and you were astounded by the fact that it took 7 to 10 years for the artist or more to make that painting. I mean that it can take you 10 years to whatever vision is there to put it out there, but we have a very immediate peril of instant gratification. That we need the work done now. We need our art now. And we're not ready to commit. We are not ready to commit or risk ourselves for that journey. So how does, and you speak to a group of students who are ready to take that journey, but there are usual questions. पैसा नहीं होगा, घर से जाना पड़ेगा, अब तो बॉम्बे में भी नहीं मिलेगा. How does one deal with this tug of wanting to commit, being utterly terrified to commit?
And you're not an artist. If you're terrified to commit, then you're not an artist.
So, but were you always ready to commit from the get-go?
No, I told you. First half of my career so far, more than first half, was a career. I was making films to make money, and bigger films for bigger money, until I made Mulk, and it changed. And now I don't work for money. So, we have to always remember that any art form is an opinion. It's an opinion on an emotion, on what you see. It's the same building that 17 different photographers will shoot differently. It's the angle where they wish to look at it from. Like Thappad. It's been there for ages. That film is my opinion on that Thappad. So when you're creating something with the help of AI, you have to always remember that you're not creating it. You don't even own it. So right now, all these platforms, they don't let you use AI images and videos into their programming because there is no ownership of it. And if there is no ownership, then it's not yours. How do you call it your creation? It's not your creation. It is an amalgamation of all that has existed before you had an idea about something like that. Look how vague it is.
Yeah. And the entire quest is to make this vague sense something, I mean, you have to put it out there.
Yeah.
And this entire distance is something that can take a lot of time, a lot of skill, a lot of failure.
So 2 years back, I was gifted I've always wanted to learn to play the piano. And I could never have enough room in my house to house one. And finally I bought a house where I could have it. And I was seeking Vishal Bhardwaj's opinion on what should I buy. And it was costing 5 lakhs. So he got really upset with me and he said, 5 lakhs? तेरी औकात है 5 लाख का पियानो बजाने की? तो मैंने कहा मुझे तो आता ही नहीं बजाना, उतना करूँ जब मैं घूमता हूँ. So next day he sent me a piano. And so I called him, I said, I thought it was 5 lakhs. And he said, no, don't worry, it's not that expensive, I can afford it. And then he gave me a teacher. The teacher asked me a question. Why are you learning to play the piano? What do you want to do? So I got confused. I said, I thought I had a dream that I'll one day play the piano. I found it cool. And I had the dream as a child, not when I became 45. So I thought a lot and I asked him, why are you asking me this question? He said, then I will teach you accordingly. I will take you to your goal. If you want to be a performer, if you want to. So I said, no, I love music. And apparently, whatever I said about it in my description of why, he said, you don't want to learn to play the piano. You want to learn music, which can be done through a piano. And I said, why? He said, you want to create. You want to learn the language, and then you want to create your own music. So that's where the journey of reading and writing music started. So he said, you're not telling me I want to play that tune, I want to play that tune when there's a party at home and I want to dazzle them how good I am. No, that's the difference. I could have taken that route where I would learn much faster and I would learn to start.
You would have the appearance of a piano player,
pianist,
you would not be.
But I won't be. That's the difference. So you can pretend to create, but it's not your creation.
Very well. I think that this is a good moment to sort of dive into your films. And I mean, we had a selection of certain
I'm
clips.
very scared of diving into my films. I don't
Sir, I thought you were good at swimming now.
Yeah, but not into films.
Okay, sir. You can hold on to my hand, it's okay, sir. So we begin with a clip, some clips of Article 15, and then because I have the mic, I will ask the first question. But then I will also, I mean, you can also like just raise your hand and you will get a mic, and you can ask sir any question about the film, but also if something is related to the film.
That's how democracy works. You have the feeling that you can ask the question, but he has the mic.
हरिमनपुर की तरफ मोड़ लो. मैं कहा करती थी सर, समाज का एक विधान होता है, राजा होता है, प्रजा होती है, सेवक होता है, दास होता है. इस सब का संतुलन है सर, ब्रह्मा जी ने बनाया संस्कृत में. हमको कोई अधिकार नहीं है इस संतुलन को बिगाड़ने का. और सर सब बराबर हो जाएंगे तो फिर राजा कौन बनेगा? सब बराबर हो जाएंगे तो फिर राजा कौन बनेगा?
लेकिन राजा बनाना ही क्यों है?
Can we have the second clip also?
Good luck. जीत भी जाओ. मंदिर का क्या इशू? दलित एंटर नहीं कर सकते क्या?
जी सर।
किसने किया है? कोई आइडेंटिफाई हुआ?
मंजी के आसपास के लड़के हैं सर।
कौन है मंजी?
सर मंजी मंजी
मुझे जानते हैं।
ब्राह्मण है सर।
और ये लड़के हैं ये किस जाति?
ये शेड्यूल कास्ट है सर।
ब्राह्मण की क्या जाति?
ठाकुर है सर।
ये ठाकुर क्या होते हैं? मतलब ब्राह्मण क्षत्रिय वैश्य क्या होते हैं?
क्षत्रिय होते हैं सर।
तुम क्या हो?
हम जाट हैं। पहले नौबत थे, अब ओबीसी हैं। ओबीसी हो गया तुम्हारा। तो आंदोलन क्या कर रहे हैं? हम बड़ा आंदोलन कर रहे हैं। वो तो हरियाणा वाले कर रहे हैं ना सर। हरियाणा के जाकर जी नौबत है सर।
जाटव जी आप दलित?
जी सर।
मतलब लड़कों की और आप ही से जाते?
नहीं सर, मैं चमार हूँ। ये पास ही है। हम लोग इनसे काफी ऊपर आते हैं सर SC/ST में। हमारे से कोई लेना देना इनका चोट खाते भी नहीं है सर।
जैसे मैं आपका चोर नहीं खा सकता।
जी सर।
ठीक है। तुम क्या हो?
मैं कास्ट हूँ सर।
कायस क्या हो?
सर हम डिफरेंट होते हैं, हम लोग 4 वर्षों में नहीं आते।
मैं क्या हूँ?
आप ब्राह्मण हैं सर।
मतलब मैं और मोहन जी से?
अरे नहीं सर, खाने को ब्राह्मण है, सबसे टॉप वाले होते हैं। अब सही करेंगे।
What the fuck is going on here?
ओके सर। सर एक सेकंड सर। अरे जब तक नहीं क्या हुआ? चलिए तो आए। बोले ना जाओ यहाँ से। ये कब बोले? बोले ना भाग। बोले तो जाना नहीं होता। चलिए आप।
We can have the lights on. Please prepare your questions about the film, and if you have to ask anything, as a democratic decision, I would like to ask the first question. I mean, so love the film. So, in that interview with you were talking about anger with her. Anger, that you are still angry. And this is also a certain sense of what I felt when I was looking at your films, specifically the films after, including Mulk of course, and after that there is a lot of anger and violence in your works. Not just physical violence, but there is a sense of a lot of hurt. There is love, yes, there is humor, yes, but there is also a recognition that one can be very broken and beaten and thrown aside in this world very easily. And it doesn't feel like you are trying to break the structure of oppression, but it's like your films are showing us that these structures were already broken. And your anger, even though it's personal, it doesn't feel like it's against anyone in particular. It's against the larger state of the world that we find ourselves in. So, how would you talk about this anger, and what is under this anger? I remember you in your interviews you said that when you went to Aligarh Muslim University, so correspondence with family was sparse. That they would send a telegram and then you would send half a telegram. Are you okay? Okay. And you also said that at that time, specifically in Uttar Pradesh, there were a lot of annual riots, and you've grown up, I think, with a knowledge of what hate and violence is like. That even if, and of course you say that in AMU you found a resistance against it. When you found friends from Hyderabad, that there was an alternate community other than that hate. But so what is beneath that anger, and how do you categorize the anger of your films as not a personal vendetta, that it's not like that you are angry and you are like, let's beat this person, but you're angry at this general state of the world. And do you also offer a sense of resistance that follows that anger, that unjust nature?
Yeah, I mean, I love this country. That's where anger comes from. I just love it. And I travel a lot outside of India also. Mostly actually.
You're on a road trip right now.
Right now. This is my India trip, but otherwise, whenever I have the time and some money, I travel. And when I see the way they are living and the way our people are living, and we are all extremely privileged people sitting in this room here, it makes me angry because people are always asking the wrong questions and looking for the wrong answers. And I think, in my view, it's time that each one of us in the room has to be out there working for it. Otherwise, it's, I'm 60 and it's your country. You will build it. And if you are not bothered about it, that angers me. If you think, status quo is the most horrible state of mind, at least in this country. And that makes me angry. And not with somebody, with the state of affairs.
There's this essay that we read in class by this great American writer James Baldwin.
I love him.
Beautiful man. And he writes this that that anger and fury, that people cling on to hate and anger because they don't want to face the grief underneath. And underneath it, there is a lot of sadness about what the things are and how things can be. And so, is it not, right to say that the protagonists in your world, they might be unhappy in many ways, but there is a certain sense that they still resist participating in such a role. That they might succeed, they might fail, but there is always a sense of resistance. That even if the world is cruel and if it can bite you, chew you up and throw you out, we don't have to participate in it. Article 15 has this wonderful scene in that entire sequence about the daldal, that you have to be willing to get into the daldal, because the point to always point fingers and comment, it's a position of privilege. So you have to go in, and for a very brief moment you see the entire community, and therefore that no one breaks, but you see them coming together. So even if there is anger, there is also resistance in that anger.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. And I suspect each one of us has to be angry at this point and it's a very urgent situation. It's not a situation that's imminent. It's inside the room, it's not even at the door. It's in the room, it's sitting with us. And you better be angry and you better resist.
I think if anyone would like to ask a question, can you please carry the mic?
Sir, it's an honor
Question
to be.
okay.
So, just I'm saying it's an honor to be in the same room as with him. I just wanted to ask that in today's time, when an artist is not allowed to completely express his feelings in today's democracy, then there is you, who took a bold move and brought out films like Article 15, Mulk, Bheed. So, firstly, when is the time you decided that you will be showing and showcasing the real issues of our country? And the second question is, did you anytime fear that when you will be making these movies, you will be questioned? Because again, in today's time, as an artist, it is very difficult to express your honest feelings.
Why is it difficult? I don't get it. I made films, I've said whatever I had to say. I'm sitting here with you.
But sir, don't you think that a small artist, for example,
just to be sure, nobody has ever asked me to not make these films.
No, not asked you to make these films, but when these films came out, then were you ever questioned to, for example, as an artist, I am telling that, taking the example of stand-up comedians or some new actors, they are not allowed to make a bold move, bold choices when it comes to filmmaking or expressing their artistic views. So that was the basic.
Yeah, sometimes, who said it was going to be easy? But it will be worth it.
And sorry, just another question, because I'm sure you don't have the movie clips. I was I wanted to ask a question about, sir, as
Which
a
film?
film,
Which film?
as a film critic, I wanted to ask you, although you have quite cleared with your answer that you are not interested in franchise films or sequels, but recently, an hour ago, I read SRK's article, and he said, if anytime Mr. Sinha wishes to make a sequel of Ra.One, then I am completely in for that. So
as a group, we can hold him hostage right now. And we can have the return of Ra.One with the McDonald's. Wonderful.
no, sir, but if you don't want to make a sequel, is there any chance in today's time the old films are re-releasing? Do you plan to re-release Ra.One?
I cannot. It's Shah Rukh's film. He's the producer.
And Shah Rukh sir says it's your film, so I
No, Shah Rukh's talking about me making the next one. I'm talking about releasing the previous one. These are two different matters.
The next question, please. And also, no questions on Ra.One for now. We will have that afterwards.
We are following complete democracy.
Yes. It's our film.
I'm kidding you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
It's an honor talking to you, and I apologize if my question is really basic, but I think most of us would agree that most of your majorly renowned works are politically driven. If I could quote one movie, it would be Mulk. So in Mulk, you get to know that there's a political idea behind it, but at the same time, there's a major story. You get to know the points of view of both Javed and Murad, and while being politically driven, it doesn't seem like it's a movie which is just stating certain statistics about a certain issue.
I'm not getting your entire question. Could you be a little louder, please?
Is this better?
Slightly, yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No. Just where I stopped you.
So, how do you make sure that the political idea of a movie doesn't overpower the cinematography or basically the movie and doesn't seem like it's just someone stating random statistics about a certain issue? How do you make sure the integrity of the artwork is still there and it doesn't seem like a politically driven or propagandist movie?
I mean, just to piggyback on your question, the tension between you as a filmmaker and you also as a journalist in many ways,
Yeah.
doing the work that is not being done.
No, I agree.
So I think that is something that we
Yeah.
have to work on.
So you do your best. But I always compare it to, do you cook?
Hopefully I can.
Suppose you are making a complicated curry and you've made it 200 times. Every time, most of the times nice. But when you're in the middle of it, you make one mistake which could ruin the broth. And you make that mistake, you don't realize, you don't get to know until it's made, until it's fully made. So that happens, that can happen. But the artist is trying his best because the whole story is driven by a political opinion. And you are aware of that because that's the driver. And then you weave a story around it. And we are aware that we have to strike the right balance because people will want to watch the story and hopefully subliminally take home the political idea with them. But sometimes it goes wrong.
Thank you so
It
much.
went terribly wrong in Anek.
I think we can watch Thappad and then we can take a collective final round of questions if that's okay. This is our choice. But can you please?
Is this our choice or not?
Okay, say yes. Go attendance.
I lost 1 year because of attendance in the engineering college. So please take care of your attendance.
I did not. But let's go to the next one, please.
सेक्शन 9 रेस्टिट्यूशन ऑफ कॉन्जुगल राइट्स ये लीगल नोटिस है आपको घर वापस ले जाने के लिए मुझे नहीं जाना क्यों माने अनफॉर्चुनेटली कोर्ट में मल की बात नहीं हो सकती और सिर्फ एक थप्पड़ तो रीजन नहीं हो सकता है वो रियल स्टोरी इज फैमिली नो You start having a friend? No. You're having a friend? No. Sexual? No. So just one slap them. That's unusual, Anita. कुछ लोगों को अनरीजनेबल भी लग सकता है। उन लोगों को उसने मुझे थप्पड़ मारा ये अनरीजनेबल नहीं लग सकता। लगे भी तो तुम्हारा रिएक्शन अनरीजनेबल लग सकता है। खुद की रिस्पेक्ट नहीं कर पा रही हूँ। हाउसवाइफ हूँ। चॉइस थी, किसी ने फोर्स नहीं किया था। कंप्लेन नहीं कर रही हूँ। इनफैक्ट खुश थी उसके ड्रीम्स में, उसकी लाइफ में पार्टिसिपेट करके। शायद इस सब में ने आपको ऐसा बना लिया जिसको थप्पड़ मारा, तो ये अनरीजनेबल नहीं है। नहीं मार सकता, जस्ट स्लैप, पर नहीं मार सकता। तुम क्या चाहती हो? खुश रहना चाहती हो? जब बोलोगे खुश हो तो चुप कर रही हो। देखो 3 ऑप्शन है। सबसे आसान तो ये है कि तुम वापस चली जाओ, मेक इट वर्क, दैट वुड बी माय एडवाइस। वरना लीगल ऑप्शंस हैं, जुडिशियल सेपरेशन जहां तुम उसकी वाइफ नहीं रहोगी पर उसके साथ रहना नहीं, और फिर डिवोर्स। तो लीगल ऑप्शंस कैन गेट वेरी मेसी। हम बता शायद इसलिए हम अपने आप से झूठ बोलते हैं कि हम खुश हैं। नहीं बोलना चाहती मैं झूठ, ना उससे ना अपने आप से।
We can have the lights now. Can we please have the lights? I remember reading that you said that you were very proud, not just of the film, but of the fact that you thought of this film. And had your mother been here to see this film, I mean, you really wanted her to see this. And I think so, I mean, it might sound funny, but I think in a very serious way that, you know, in a world, cinema, Bollywood world, which is obsessed with the idea of, you know, thappad se dar nahi lagta, pyar se lagta hai. And Kabir says, you say that thappad is something that, you know, one should talk about. I will try to be democratic now, and now I ask you people to please raise your hands and see if you have any questions about this. Please do pick and choose, I think. Let's go there, leave him, go there. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. It is an honor to speak to you. So my question isn't directly related to the movie itself. It is more about this idea of art. How we have always had these two debates: art for art's sake, and then there is art for the improvement of life, art as a means of improvement of life. As John Stuart Mill says, how do you, as an artist, as someone who makes art, makes films, decide your worth? Can a movie, can a film called Leisure be made, or would it work, or will its worth be determined by the weight it carries or the potential it carries to bring a change in the society?
That's a very audacious artist. You know, I don't think art changes society. It just expresses an opinion, and people subscribe to that opinion, and something might happen. You know, I don't remember of any piece of art in the history of art, that has changed society. Forget just films, any art form. And you live in a world, and there's something that bothers you, there's something else that bothers you, there's something else that bothers him, and you have an opinion on it, and you want to express it artistically in a form that is yours, and you do it. There can't be any more ambition out of that expression of an opinion. I don't look at it like that. I don't think Article 15 changed the caste system in our country, or there are lesser women being beaten up today. But we sat down and we spoke about it. Some 40, 50, 60, 70 lakh people saw it. Most liked it. And yeah, it's there, unfortunately.
It might not change anything, but it leaves something there. And you don't know.
Some really small and cute things happened. So the first premiere of the film, there were 5 screens, and it was playing in all 5 screens, staggered time. So the first show, and I was this nervous director in the foyer, and the first screening gets over, and some filmmaker friend is walking out. This is the first screening. I don't know the reaction of the people. And he's walking towards me. He doesn't have great expression on his face. So I want to know if he likes it or not. And it feels like he doesn't. And then he gets close to me. It feels like he's not stopping. He extends his hand to shake my hand. We shake hands and he's walking past me. He said, very nice. And sometimes we say this out of politeness. And then I pulled him back and I said, what, you didn't like it? And he said, no, I have to rush. I have to go say sorry to somebody. And he left. Now, if you can count that as a change, maybe. I have received no less than 200 calls from women I did not know who were crying like babies. And they had nothing to say after Thappad. They just cried for 10 minutes and they said, I have nothing to say. Just called you to say thank you. And they cried for 10 minutes and I didn't know what to do. I have received, you'll be surprised, I have received equal number of phone calls from men. I always thought men will hate this film, they will not watch it. The first screening happened in Delhi, and it was the creme de la creme of Delhi journalists and artists and whatnot. And it got over. Vishal Bhardwaj had hosted that screening, and he called me and Tapsi on stage, and we walk in and we are nervous. It was the first to second public screening, and then it was Q&A, and the mic was passed around to a man who was in the darkness. He got up, and he was a journalist apparently till date. I don't know who it was because he was in the dark. And he said, "लिखूंगा तो सर बहुत इस फिल्म के बारे में." And then he broke down, and he said, "इतना टाइम क्यों लगा दिए पिक्चर बनाने में? मेरी माँ नहीं पिटती." So men saw their sisters and their mothers in that film. So I have received equal number of phone calls from men crying. So I don't know if that's change, but it stirred up things for some people. I don't know if that was the intention, but yeah. The answer to your question.
And we have
Good evening, sir. It's an honor to meet
Good
you.
evening.
Sir, so my question is
ऐसा
related.
ना बोला करें आप लोग, मैं शर्मिंदा हो जाऊँ।
So yesterday I was watching Article 15, and the movie beautifully captures the aspects that are mentioned in Article 15 of the Constitution. So I wanted to ask, what was the thought process that you kept Article 15 only as the title of your movie? Do you wanted to reaffirm what is mentioned in the Constitution, or do you wanted to show the paradox that runs in the society till date regarding Article 15?
No.
I think so just to piggyback that particular scene in which he brings the page of Article 15 and it's like a statement piece, center of the film, and he puts it there and everyone comes and looks at it. It's a very pivotal moment in which you boldly announce the title through that page.
So the film was, we wrote several drafts until it was called Kanpur Dehat. Kanpur Dehat was a district, now I think it's called something else. And then I thought, if I call it Kanpur Dehat, it just might become a story out of one particular place in India. So it was one local story, it's not a story of the country. Then we started thinking of another title. And one day I was sitting with, I remember I was sitting in Sudhir Mishra's office. And I think 3-4 directors were there, and me and my co-writer, Gaurav Solanki. I said, which article of the Constitution talks about this? And everyone Googled right there. And they said Article 15 and 14. but then we read it more carefully and our movie was closer to Article 15. So we called it Article 15.
And that scene also does not, I mean, it's not a tearing away of the page, it's reminding everyone else that this is what you have to do.
Yeah, and then Baba Sahab's voice,
Yeah.
which is of course not his voice, but
Yeah.
reading it out
Yeah.
in the parliament.
Ultimately, there's a belief in the protagonist that we have to return to this spirit. I think we have a question right here. This and then this.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
I'm Shifali. Very admire your cinema. So, my question was, because the topic also says bringing script to life. So, I wanted to talk about script writing and writing in general. So, my just two short sub-questions. First, I personally believe that writers are not given their due, especially in cinema and Bollywood. Do you agree with that, disagree with that? And if you agree, then why do you think? Why is it not portrayed to be cool to be a writer? If I ask you, maybe you can name 5 directors, 5 actors, but would you be able to instantly name 5 writers from Bollywood who are really good? So that is the first part. And second, because you also write and co-write your films, so what is, if you'd like to share something about your writing process, I just have a specific question. How does, because I feel that writers are also a bit geeky and scholarly and nerdy, so how does especially a writer in filmmaking strike a balance between giving the knowledge and the facts, but also adhering to the purpose of entertainment? So, how to strike that balance? If you could answer those 2 questions.
So I don't fully agree with that perception. But please sit down. Fully agree with that perception that the writers don't get their due. It's partially true though. And it's changing, it's evolving. People are understanding the cinema, the commercial cinema per se, has been very star-driven. So a lot of times, if that star exists on screen, he can get away with a lot. That's been the culture of cinema, which is changing. Past 3-4 years, it's been changing. So sometimes they have rejected a star completely, and 3 months later they have embraced him. So then you figure out it's about the film. So there's a growing sense of the importance of the writer and the scripts. So we are working towards it. We are a very young industry. We started making films properly in the 50s, 60s. And so we are, 50, 60 years behind the American cinema, and American or European both. So we are still evolving our systems. And the question of striking a balance between entertainment and what you're trying to do with it. That's one journey that I'm on right now. I'm traveling across the Hindi belt of India by road. I go to various cities. This beautifully fitted in, talking to you guys. There's a perception sitting in Bombay that smaller towns, they don't like to watch Article 15 and Thappad. मेरे को ऐसा बताते हैं कि आपका सिनेमा जो है वो छोटे शहर में नहीं दिखाया जाता. And I can't fathom why. Why would it be so? क्या वो कम इंटेलिजेंट हैं छोटे शहर में, कानपुर में और गोरखपुर में लोगों को अकल नहीं है कि जो दिल्ली और बॉम्बे में है. So I'm trying to get an answer to this question driving across. So that is the art really. The question, answer to her question was, she was here only for, no, she's here. So that it's a tightrope walk. That's where it becomes a combination of science and art. And that's why I keep repeatedly saying that we have great writers, but we don't have many great screenwriters. Screenwriting is a different beast. It's an absolutely different art form. And we are all working and learning on the job. And like I said, sometimes we fail. I never knew Article 15 would be so loved, or Thappad would be so loved. But it was. So, then after these films, I made a mistake of Anek, where I became too political and almost incomprehensible, and people didn't like it. And so, yeah, and any artist keeps trying, keeps doing it, and if you've done it right once, doesn't mean you'll do it right all the time. You have to remember that.
I think we can take one final question there. Yeah.
Hello, sir. So you were talking about anger, and in the beginning, sir also talked about interruptions. So I don't know, I just kind of resonated with it that this anger, I think I also share that anger, a lot of people do. And then there's this sense of justice that you feel. So in some sense it's a good thing, but then it makes you feel kind of helpless. What do you do about this, right? And looking at your films and the way you were talking right now, I feel like you also, that is the method you take. You feel angry about something, you notice an issue, and you make a film about it. But then filmmaking, it's just one of the mediums to express that, right? It's just an opinion. So do you think making these films, does it help you make sense of your own life, of society in general? Does it give you like that closure? Because there's so much anger, making that film, there's a good ending to that film. There's somewhat, it gives some wholesome ending to that film. So it gives you that closure. But then, does it give you that closure, or do you still feel, no, I have to do something more about this cause, about caste divide, or domestic violence, on those lines?
Also, so I mean, so good question, but even if it's not a question of closure, the very act of making that film, is it much better than the paralyzing feeling of just maintaining the status quo?
No, so first of all, I'm accused of not delivering closure in my films. Article 15 gets over when they're still discussing caste. Couple gets over when they're going their different ways. But I like hope. So he asks her, "Mujhse mil liya karna kabhi kabhi." And she says, "Okay."
You don't know what will happen.
Now they go on. So there is hope. So I'm very hopeful of all these things, that I talk about. Does it give me a closure? No. And that's the reason why I don't offer any closure in the films. And I'll be very happy to know if I made some of you angry. We are a generation, all of us, we are a generation of the population that quietly saw the massacre of 100,000 children, and we did nothing about it. We are guilty of it. Now you tell me, what can I do about it? I don't know, and I don't care. You go figure what you want to do about it. Over 100,000 children were massacred day to day to day to day for 2 years. We did nothing about it. Nobody, none of us did anything about it. If that doesn't make you angry with yourself, there's a problem.
There's something terribly wrong with
There's a problem. And it doesn't matter whose children they were. They were children.
I think it's Baldwin who says that the children are, they belong to the world. It's a moral duty to protect them.
That's why I love it.
Exactly.
But he's written too much. I can't finish it.
So thank you so much for this.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for putting up with me.
Before we conclude, I have this one final, if not a question, then a passing thought. So the first company you worked at, that company, I think you said that they make rear view mirrors, something like that. I was so scared. Yes, in Faridabad, so there's a company that made rear view mirrors. That was your first company. When you So when you leave today, and I'm not so nostalgia striking.
India is running to buy electric vehicles. That's it. Hashtag.
So the question that I have is that And I don't want you to perhaps, I think I want you to just speak about it, not answer it. And I want you to take this question as a passing gift from us. That now when you look back at the rear view mirror, at your own life, so what is the kind of life that you have lived? Your regrets, your pride, your courage, your sorrow. So is there peace amongst all this happening? In this interview also, I think you say that in hindsight, I see a lot of privileges that I had. So what do you look back to now, this entire journey?
There are no regrets. How many of you have read My Experiments with Truth? Very few. That man, who was already known as Mahatma, on the third or the fourth page says, I went to the brothel. You make mistakes, you correct them, you move on, you never make that mistake again, and then you make another mistake, and then you make another mistake. The man was fighting for the rights of brown people not being treated as blacks, treated like white people. It was his first fight, right? I don't think you ever looked back at it and regretted it. You should keep doing the right things that seem right at the moment. And then in hindsight, you made mistakes, but you moved on from there. If you moved on from there, you're fine. So no, I have no regrets. I don't think I've achieved anything. I've used my time well. And materialistically, I've lived a very, very happy life. The rear view mirror is clean and has a very beautiful view.
The journey is still going on.
And I've just started. When I was turning 60, so on the eve of my birthday, some depressing thoughts. How many years do I have? How many movies do I have? And the day after my birthday, I told myself, I have 40 years and I'll make 40 more films. Get lost. So, I'm headed towards 40 years and 40 more films. So I still have to make 40 films, man. I'll make better films.
40 times you have to come back here.
Yeah.
And talk.
Happy to, because it's lovely being here.
I think, thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session. I would like to pass it over to you.
Thank you, sir.